Good afternoon and welcome to the Road to CFP, Steps Needed to Gain the Certified Financial Planner Designation webinar. For your reference, all lines have been placed into a listen-only mode to prevent any background noise. If you would like to submit a question, please type it into the Q&A console located on your GoToWebinar screen. We will attempt to answer as many of your questions as possible throughout the session. If you have any technical difficulties, please email envestnet.platform@envestnet.com for assistance. Again, that is envestnet.platform@envestnet.com for assistance. Now, I would like to introduce you to Katie Yenowin, Envestnet Institute on Campus's administrator, who will be introducing our guest speaker for today. Katie, over to you.
Thanks, Sally. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to start off this event introducing our next guest speaker, Jocelyn Wright. She is the founder and managing partner of the Ascension Group. Jocelyn has been an advisor for over 20 years with an abundance of experience, knowledge when it comes to the wealth management industry, and a presence as an advocate in the profession for women and people of color. So we are very, very privileged and excited to have her join us today so that she can share with all of us her experience and advice when it comes to understanding and achieving a certified financial planning designation. As a reminder, during the presentation, please feel free to be part of this conversation by sending us your questions. So let's please welcome Jocelyn Wright. Jocelyn, please feel free to share a little bit about yourself and background, and welcome.
Sure. Thank you so much, Katie. And I appreciate the invitation to talk to everyone today. As you mentioned, I am a certified financial planner. I have been a CFP and practicing as an advisor for almost 18 years. I've been a CFP since 2006. And in addition to my role as a financial planner, I have my own RIA. I am also the special advisor on gender diversity for the CFP board, Center for Financial Planning, and that is looking to get more women into the profession. And we'll talk about that just a little bit in the presentation that I'm giving to show you the breakdown of current CFP professionals. So happy to be here. All right, so to get started today, so as we go along, this is certainly going to be interactive as far as if you have questions for me. So please type them in or raise your hand and we'll address your questions. If it's something that I will cover in the presentation, I will let you know. Otherwise, I will answer it as we go along. And of course, this is being recorded. And my contact information will be provided too. So if you have questions that you may think of after we finish for today, you can certainly feel free to reach out to me and ask me any questions that you might have. All right. So as we talk about the Certified Financial Planner designation and what is required, what I'm going to cover today is talking about the different career paths that we have, advanced education, professional designations, and then some of the licensing that may be required for a certified financial planner. In terms of background, these are the current statistics on the current number of CFP professionals. So as of the end of November, which was the last testing period, there are 85,272 financial planners. Certified financial planners. And of that number, about 23% are female, and women have represented about 23% of the professionals for well over 10 years. And that's part of the reason why we do have a special advisor on gender diversity to get more women into the profession. So the areas of financial planning, for those of you who may not be aware, they are listed generally, there are about 6, and you can go deeper into those areas, but they are financial position or cash flow, risk management, wealth accumulation, tax planning, retirement planning, and then estate planning. So those are the general areas. You may see some additional areas or ancillary areas that may be covered, but for the most part, these are the 6 areas that as planners we work and assist our clients in managing. So getting to the career path. Now, these are not listed in any order of priority. It's just simply alphabetically, and as it turns out, financial planner is at the top. So financial planners are individuals who work with clients to help them manage their financial lives. You have a client-facing relationship, so you're working directly with clients to help them manage their finances. Other types of roles that you can have in the field are fund managers. So this is where you're more focused on the investment side. So you're picking and selecting stocks and perhaps other investments, bonds that may go into a particular fund. Other aspects or other careers that you might have is as an insurance specialist. So as the name indicates, you'll be focused on the insurance side. So you can be helping clients with life insurance. Other types of insurances include disability, long-term care, and the like. You may or may not deal with property and casualty, but that's a possibility. These are just some things to be aware of. As an investment manager, this too is focused on investments. So if you remember the pyramid that we just showed, and here you're managing the investment. So you may be responsible for a particular fund at a company, but this is what you're primarily focused on. As a paraplanners work hand in hand with the financial advisor or the CFP professional. This is more back office. So you may not have a client-facing responsibility, but really what you're focused on here is putting the plans together for one particular advisor, or it could be a group of advisors that you're working with. And this person is critical to the process because they know all of the data, all the information that the client has provided, and they're assisting the client with putting the plan together. A portfolio analyst, this is also an investment type of role. And here you're working with the fund managers or the portfolio managers doing research and different things that are needed. So a portfolio analyst could some ways be looked at as a paraplanner type for a fund manager. So you're doing the back support, and you're very important to the process in terms of what's included, knowing about the various investments, when to buy, sell, and so forth. Relationship manager. This is someone who really is responsible for the overall client relationship. So they may or may not be the financial planner, but they make sure, typically with larger organizations in some banks and bigger institutions, you'll have someone who's in the role of relationship manager. So they're making sure that when the client calls in or has a concern, they're tending to that need and putting them in touch with the other professionals that they would be working with. And then finally, a wholesaler. Wholesalers work with some of the large insurance companies and mutual fund companies, helping advisors to understand the products and how they fit in with what they're offering to the product solutions that they're offering to their clients. So when I talk about the career paths, this is just to give you an idea that there are so many different ways that you can be involved in the process. You may or may not want to be a financial planner, but you can still be in the financial advice space by one of these other roles or positions. Next is advanced degrees. So, these are different types of degrees that some financial planning professionals have in addition to their undergraduate degree. So you may go with an MBA. There are a number of CFPs who have MBA degrees with various specialties. Typically, it might be, with a concentration or a major in finance. But there are so many different types of concentrations that you may have with your master's as well. Now you can get a master's in financial services. So when I was an undergrad, although I was interested in financial planning, at that particular time, you could not get an undergraduate degree and not even a master's degree in financial in financial services or financial planning. But now you can have a minor or you can major in financial planning even as early as undergrad. So there are also financial planners that have JD, so they are attorneys as well, and this could be a particular niche for them. So, you know, while they may focus on all of the financial planning areas or have competency in all the financial planning areas, their focus may be on the estate planning side or trust legal side. And then you have individuals who actually have PhDs, so you can get a PhD in financial planning. Some of these individuals also work with clients, but then you will have individuals with PhDs who are then running the financial planning programs at the various educational institutions. And that's also important because as the profession grows, we need certified individuals to be able to teach students who are interested in getting their degrees in financial planning. So this is another opportunity in terms of potential advanced degree that you might get. So I see a question that comes up. It says, do you have to have a bachelor's degree before you can enroll in the CFP certification? You do not have to have a bachelor's degree to enroll. However, one of the requirements in order to use the designation is you have to have a bachelor's degree. So you can start taking the courses without having it, but in order to, one of the qualifications to use the designation is to have a bachelor's degree. And it doesn't have to be a bachelor's degree that's in business or anything like that. You know, we have a lot of financial planning professionals who come from various backgrounds, and that's really the beauty of the profession as well, is that, you know, we have some that have psychology degrees, some that were nurses, so it's far-ranging. Now, when it comes to designations, there are so many designations out there, and it can be confusing for individuals to know what designation they should get. And so we'll talk a little bit about that right now. But just so you know, FINRA is the organization that recognizes or gives the authority for the designations and certifies them. And right now, as of, I checked this yesterday, there were 208 professional designations out there. So, you know, that can be very confusing and, you know, pretty much alphabet soup as the picture entails of what designations that you will have. Now, of course, from the standpoint of financial planning, the Certified Financial Planner designation is the most widely recognized for financial planners. So here you would be focused on all of those areas of planning that we discussed in the pyramid. But there are other ways that you can focus and for that. So for instance, if you had a particular niche, say you wanted to focus primarily on insurance, another designation that you can possibly get in addition to the CFP could be the CLU, which is the Chartered Life Underwriter designation. And here you would be primarily looking at ways of, you know, using insurance as in solving some of the problems that clients will have or creating solutions for the clients as they navigate their finances. Also, there is, if you're, you know, very interested in taxes or accounting, you can get the CPA. There are, I know many individuals who have their CPA certification. And in addition to that, although the CPA is certainly the more widely recognized, there are a number of practitioners who also have the enrolled agent. So that's different than the CPA, but it is still having a focus on the tax planning side of the business. And then there is the AEP. So this is focusing on estate planning. So this is a designation that you can get where you're really focused on helping clients, you know, navigate that aspect of their finances. And lastly, if you're very much interested in the investment side, you can get the CFA. So that's the Chartered Financial Analyst designation. And you will find a number of planners who could have one or even all of these designations. I know, some planners who, you almost have to flip their business cards over because they do have so many designations. But this way, they have a lot of, specialty depending on the types of clients that they work with. But this really gives you a lot of flexibility to say you want to concentrate in a particular area, and these designations will help you with that. Now, as I mentioned, there are a number of designations. These are just some of the more popular and more widely recognized designations that are out there. Now, when it comes to the different types of financial advisors, so with the CFP board, who administers the test for the CFP, they do not have a preference for the type of planner that you are. So this is just some general information to see, what types of planners are out there. The different ways that you can work with clients and how you receive compensation. So we have some different models. You can be in a broker-dealer relationship where you are a registered representative, or you can be what is called an independent or fee-based advisor, and you can be duly registered. And then there's also fee only. So for instance, when I started in the profession, I was a registered representative. I worked with a broker-dealer. And then gradually I moved on to become an independent fee-based advisor. And within the past couple of years, I have transitioned where I'm fee only. So what that means is, as the grid indicates, is these are the types of ways that you are compensated. So the first one where it says AUM, that stands for assets under management. So clients will, or you will receive compensation based on the value of the client's investment account. So, you can set your percentages. There's typically a range that you can set your fees on, and then that's how you charge clients. And all three of those types can use AUM for compensation. The next is commission, and commissions are where you receive compensation from a product company. So whether it's insurance or investments, the particular company whose product that you're using will pay you based on the product that you sell. And so broker-dealers and independent advisors can receive commission. As a fee-only advisor or planner, I do not receive any commission from product companies. So it's solely based on assets under management or flat fees or hourly fees from clients. Next, product fees. And product fees, in some cases, can be used interchangeably with commissions, but product fees would mean, again, products that you would sell to clients. You receive a fee from that particular vendor or company for that. And that could be insurance, again, or investment. So that, too, is something that a broker, registered representative, or fee-based advisor would be able to receive compensation from that type. And then the next two are flat fee or hourly fees. So as an advisor, you have to have a special license in order to be able to charge clients a fee. So in order to do that, you can do a flat fee, meaning you just set your price depending on what your range is, and the clients will then pay that. Or you could base it on an hourly scale. So, a lot of times the hourly fee is based on your years of experience. It could be your education, designations that you have. Different advisors will use a different scale in setting their fees, but you are able to do it on either an hourly or a flat fee basis. And so that is something too that all three of the different types of advisors are able to charge their clients. But mainly the main thing to point out is for fee-only advisors, we are only compensated directly from assets under management or from flat fees or hourly fees. So now when we're talking about the different types of licensing, this is going to be important. So as one of the things that I do want to point out, that the licenses that require will depend on the type of, depend on the type of advisor or model that you're working in. And right now, the SIE exam is a new exam that has come out within the last few years. And this is more of an introductory exam that you can take that is covering the basics, the basics of the basics of being an advisor. And this is also administered through FINRA. This is something that you don't need to be affiliated with a company in order to take. So this is more of an introductory, testing your ability to know the basics of the industry. And right now, it is not, it'll be required for you to have passed the SIE exam in order to get the other exams or licenses that you may need in order to get into the profession. But the one thing to point out is the SIE, you don't need to be affiliated with a company in order to take this. So as a student, you are able to take this exam right now if you needed to. So just as a reference, the requirements are you have to be 18 years or older, you could be a student or a prospective candidate, and you don't need to have a firm affiliation. And the results of the exam, if you pass, are valid for 4 years. So that's important to know. It's 75 questions, multiple choice, and you have to have a passing score of at least 70, and the cost is $60. There are some organizations, because we are looking to get more women, more younger people into the profession, more people of color, there are organizations now who are sponsoring students or candidates to get the SIE exam. Other licenses that you may need, securities licenses are the Series 6 or the Series 7. So these are securities licenses. The difference between the two primarily is with the Series 6, with the Series 7, you are able to sell individual stocks to clients. So if you don't have the Series 7 exam, you can't do the individual securities with clients. There is, I would say that the 7 is harder than the Series 6. So if you're working with an insurance company, in many cases, they may just require you to get the Series 6 exam because that way you're able to sell mutual funds and the like to clients, but you can't do individual securities, for clients. Another question is there an experience requirement for someone for the CFP exam? What relevant experience? So again, in order to sit for the exam, you don't need to have that experience requirement, but in order to use the designation, there is 3 years of experience that you need, and recently they've started an apprenticeship, so depending on the firm that you work with, you may be able to qualify with just having 2 years with an apprenticeship. So those are, that is something that's new, and that wasn't available when I initially sat for the exam. But there is an experience requirement in order to use a designation. And that is also the case for many of the designations that we talked about. So it's typically somewhere between 2 to 3 years of experience doing the work that you need to have in order to be able to use and promote yourself as having that designation. Other licenses and exams that you may need to take are the Series 66. And so the Series 66 is something that includes the Series 63 and the 65 together. So the 65 exam is that license that you need in order to be able to do planning for clients. So that is a requirement. But if you take the Series 66, that gives you both the 63 and the 65 together. So when you are affiliated with a company, they will break that down for you and, let you know exactly what you need to do and what licenses are required depending on your role and responsibility. If you're working with insurance, You may also be required to have a life insurance and a health insurance license. So these are administered by typically your home state. And if you're doing business outside of your state, you wouldn't need to take another exam. It would just be getting registered in that particular state and paying whatever registration fee is required. So you would go to your home state in order to take the exam and then register in any outside states that you would be working with, depending on where your clients either live or work. So these are the basics that you would need. Now, for some of the other career paths and things that we talked about, there may be some other licenses are required, but these are the basics, just so you have a general understanding of what is required. So as we wrap up, and we'll have some time for questions if there are any others, there's some more information that I wanted to be able to provide for you, because it can be daunting in order to find out, what company should I work for, what position, especially as you're starting out, should you be interested in. But the CFP board, the Center for Financial Planning, has a great deal of research and information that is available for individuals who are interested in the profession. And earlier this year, we released what's called the Financial Planning Career Path. And this is to give you some information on what skills, what is needed for as you progress through your career. So as you can see from the cover, you may be starting out as an analyst. So this way you're doing some background work, helping a financial advisor or a lead advisor, working with clients to put together financial plans, perhaps doing research on different products and solutions for clients as well. So that's the starting point. And then as you progress, depending on years of experience and education, you would become an associate advisor. So different firms and organizations that you go to will have a different career path. But this is helpful to be able to review to see exactly what is needed or what you can expect in terms of your career path, depending on where you ultimately want to go within the profession. So this will take you all the way up to partner, what is going to be required, what some of the responsibilities are for you as a partner in the various stages. So you can go to the CFP Board Center for Financial Planning and click on research, and here you would be able to get this information. There's also sometime next year an addition to this particular research that's going to talk more about the various business models. So that is definitely going to be helpful. I'm going to speak about that a little bit in the next slide as well. But this is going to be helpful to you. So I see another question that says, what if I don't have the time to dedicate to practice or study for the CFP designation? Are there other ways to accomplish this goal or other options? Well, the CFP exam is certainly a hard exam, is a very hard exam, as are many of the other designations. So I would only, if you don't have the time to study and practice, I would not advise taking the exam, because one of the things that's really important is that you have the time to dedicate to, not only taking the courses, but also doing the prep work. So the CFP exam is offered 3 times a year, in March, July, and November. So we just did the final testing period for this year, so the next exam. And so now with the new window, it's offered over normally a week's period in March. The dates are available if you go to the CFP website, and you can just schedule your time, what day you would want to sit for the exam. It is a day-long exam. It is really a bear, so I don't want to make light of it at all. It's a very tough exam, and having time to study and do the practice practice exam is going to be very helpful to you. So I'm going to pull up real quick to see what the latest, they have information on the exam statistics. So just so you know what it is. So with this recent exam that was taken, I think they have information up for the July exam. So there were 2,701 individuals who sat for the exam, and the pass rate was 62%. So, and you have individuals for the first-time test takers, the pass rate was 68, and for the repeaters, the pass rate was 46. So that really just emphasizes how important it is to make sure that you're able to dedicate the time that you need to study and prepare, because your percentage of success goes down after the first time. So you really want to be able to sit and take it and pass, hopefully the first time that you sit for the exam. Now, there are some individuals who take it multiple times, and they're very committed, and the CFP board is doing a great job to try and help those individuals to pass. And one of the things too that is certainly helpful is taking a review course, because that's going to give you information on how to take the exam, similar to when you took the SAT or the ACT. Being able to understand how to answer questions, how to eliminate choices is going to be very important. Now, lastly, this is information that is helpful. So there were 4 program directors from educational institutions who have the CFP as an undergraduate option, who put together what's called the 12 tribes of financial planning, because it can be so hard to kind of work through what type of organization do I want to work with, where will I fit into the profession. This is a great visual, and I also included a link to an article that was included earlier this year in Financial Advisor magazine that talks about the different types of areas for financial planning. So as you see from the slide here, there are different aspects. So if you want to work with larger organizations, it gives you options on, what types of organizations you might want to work with. If you have more of an entrepreneurial spirit, it tells you what direction you might want to go in. But this is very helpful so that individuals can get a clearer sense of, what type of firm that I want to work for and what role do I want to be in, because there are so many different options. And as I mentioned, the CFP board, the Center for Financial Planning, will be publishing a white paper sometime next year that also goes into more detail about this. And it can be very beneficial to candidates who are interested but don't know where to start. So I've indicated some of the attributes of the various, the various tribes, so to speak, and what you can expect from them. So depending on, if you're looking for something that has a salary, it gives you some information on what types of roles and organizations you might want to work with. If you are okay with commission and having the ability to, earn up, a large sum of money because, you have that, you're not so concerned with how much am I making, or you're not, that's not an issue with being commissioned, and as some people may say, eat what you kill. But, what type of organization to work for. So that's more in some of your, insurance companies where you are compensated on how much you sell. And there's no floor and there's no maximum necessarily on what you're able to earn. So that's very important. And finally, I do see one other question here. It says, are there resources or programs that can help with costs, or do employers sponsor an employee to complete this? So there are a number of resources and programs that are available, a number of scholarships that are available on the CFP Board, Center for Financial Planning. If you go to that website, they will give you the scholarships that are sponsored through the CFP board, and Envestnet now has a scholarship through the CFP board, so there's some information there. There are other organizations that do sponsor scholarships as well. For instance, if you perhaps go to your local financial planning association, the FPA, they may do scholarships too. So it really depends. They're out there. You may have to do some research, and I'm also putting together a resource that tries to, that will be a central source of some of the various scholarships that I've seen that are available. There are organizations that have scholarships that are geared toward women or people of color or other underrepresented groups. There are scholarships for veterans to help them to get into the business. And some organizations and employers will pay for their employees to get the designation, all the way from doing the coursework to the exam fee as well. So it really depends. That's something that you'll need to ask your employer, early on to see if that's something that they will cover for you. And sometimes it would also depend on your role, whether they will cover that cost as well. And be careful, or not be careful, but just be mindful that in some cases, if they pay for you to have and get your designation, there may be some requirement to stay on with the organization for some period of time afterwards, or you may have to, pay some of that back. So, just make sure you know all of the details and what's involved with that. But there are a number of scholarships that are available from just the coursework, scholarships for the exam review, and then scholarships for the actual CFP exam. And you can also, reach out to me if you have some questions about that. And I see the last question. On average, how long do people take to prepare for the exam? It really depends on what your timing is. So there are some people who can do from start to finish in a 12-month period. So that's what's called, more of a fast track. And with that, you have to make sure that you have the time to be able to commit to keeping up with the coursework and then, sitting for the exam once you finish. So some of the exam providers and educational providers will have programs that will get you through in a 12-month period. So, that's something that you'll be able to determine. But some people may take 2 years to get through it. It really all depends on, what their, outside load is. If you're doing it while you're working, that may take a little bit longer. For people who have a family and other responsibilities, that would be able to, that may extend the time that it takes for them to get the exam. And I don't have it off the top of my head, but depending on where you start your coursework, that particular institution will have a time period as well on when you need to finish. So that's something that you'll be, need to be mindful of, because, in some cases life happens and you may have to, you may have thought that you could do it in a year or a year and a half, but things happen and you have to extend the time that it takes. So, just make sure you know what that window is and how long you have to complete the course requirements. All right. Are there any other questions? My information is provided here on the screen, so feel free to, send me an email or give me a call, and I can answer any questions that you have or point you in the right direction as well, let you know who at the CFP board you might need to talk to. Questions that come up are, about experience, because there is a 3-year experience requirement. You may have done some work and you want to know if that counts. There is someone who can talk to you to see if some experience that you may have had prior may count as well. For some individuals, I know that even for some of the coursework that you need to take, for instance, if you have an MBA, that you may be able to use some of those courses to satisfy the course requirement for the CFP, so you don't have to take, additional classes. So these are all questions that you need to ask when you're registering for a particular institution to see if you can challenge some of the requirements that are there, and that can also just help you get through the requirements a little faster. All right, so if there are no more questions, that is all I have for this afternoon. I want to certainly thank you for attending. Again, my information is available, so feel free to reach out and just let me know that you attended this session, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, everyone, for attending today's Road to CFP webinar. This session has been recorded and will become available within 24 hours on the Envestnet Institute on Campus website. Thank you very much for attending. This session has now concluded.